Hi SwitchUp family, it's nice of you to join me on this Sunday evening for another episode of I must resist buying any new games and adding them to my backlog. We've had more people in the last month use our website to save themselves 10% on their eShop credit than in the last 6 months, so a big thanks to that. If you want to do it, just go to switchup.gg and use code SwitchUp when you check out. You get 5% instant and 5% in cashback. So I don't think I'm the only one failing at that initial challenge. Also, here is our winner of our free game this week. Congratulations to you. Your comment was delightfully normal and I enjoyed it. What are the best games on sale this week on the Nintendo Switch, and why should I definitely not add any to my backlog? Oh, come on. Well, let's find out. Hypercharge Unbox. One of the best games, if you like, first-person shooters, third-person shooters, and co-op games on the Switch, and one that we revisited last week to show you the amazing things that are coming up for it in 2023. Well, they've sponsored this episode, and they currently have a 20% sale on. That's in the US regions, and the developer essentially wanted you to know that they haven't given up on the game on the Switch. If you missed our video, I do suggest watching it. They have made some huge changes to the game, with that update planned to release. They're hoping for winter of 2023. Still, even in its current version, it really does have a lot to offer. You can play the whole game cooperatively with a friend. You essentially have to defend the hypercore from these invading soldiers, and then different maps have other objectives like trying to defeat a plane within a toy store. There are several different arenas to play in. There's an area outside featuring a T-Rex, bedrooms, a kitchen. Really good game at 20% off in the American regions. It's well worth checking out, especially knowing that there's going to be another massive free update in the near future. Thanks to Digital Cyber Cherries for sponsoring this episode. So these prices seem to get lower every single week. Monster Sanctuary is now down to its lowest ever price, £4.79, for a brilliant Metroidvania mixed with a Pokémon clone and an RPG. You're looking at 30 or 40 hours of quality gaming. We do have a review of this one, but you collect, evolve and battle various creatures. There is PvP battling online as well. And if I'm not mistaken, in an update they added in some different game modes like permadeath and other ones to mix it up after you finish the main game. I love this one, I love the art style, and at 70% off down to £4.79, about half the price of a Five Guys cheeseburger. That, my friends, is a bargain until August the 11th. Now, I wouldn't normally put physicals in here, but I want to, so I will. You've got The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom at Amazon at the moment. They've got their, Prime Day or something like that, where they put things down to their usual prices and try and convince you that they're cheap. Well, regardless, they have had a sale down to this before, but Tears of the Kingdom is £44.95, which represents a 25% discount. And if you want to pick up Tears of the Kingdom, you might as well get it at a slightly reduced price. Now, I haven't seen any offers in America, but if you have, then please do pop them in the comments to help other people out. Whether or not this is overrated, well, that's up to you. I think it's absolutely incredible. Is it a Zelda game? Oh, it's a modern Zelda game. I do hope we do see a traditional Zelda in some format, but let's be honest, we're not going to, are we? Probably just remasters and re-releases of the older ones. But with that said, you should definitely add this to your collection, especially if you've already played Breath of the Wild. There's just so much here. I know it's been it's been 2 months already since this came out, and there are still some of us, like myself, who have got a lot left to do. I'm not sure when that sale finishes, so if you're a physical collector and you want to pick that up a little bit cheap, go grab it over there. A massively underrated series are the Voice of Cards games. Now, Square released these to little to no fanfare. We reviewed them and we thought they were amazing. They're all currently on sale, but let's just talk about Voice of Cards The Isle Dragon Roars, which is down 50% to about 12 quid, and they're a hybrid. They almost feel like an old school tabletop RPG mixed with the battling from a deck builder. I think very often we can look at games and discount them just based on the visual. We can say, oh, I'm not going to enjoy that because it has that visual style. I see it all the time in the comments with things like pixel art. We used to have comments saying, oh, I'd never play a pixel art game because it doesn't look as good as 3D. And then a few weeks later, they would have picked one up just on a whim, and they're kicking themselves because they're having so much fun that they didn't do it sooner. And definitely, if you're after something that maybe isn't your usual speed, then check out the Voice of Cards series. There is reviews all over the place. We have reviews of it as well. And that sale is its lowest ever price until July the 26th. You might remember the hidden gem from a while back called Rainworld, which was an incredibly well-designed game, but very difficult. Well, they've just had the Rainworld Downpour DLC release, which I think has a 10% discount on it. And I guess this is a 2-part recommendation. If you've got the original game, I highly recommend downloading this update. It includes a load of new classes or characters. There are 10 massive new regions to explore. And the best of all, they've included jolly cooperation. So you can join a friend, and it's just so much better with someone else because the world is quite daunting. Now, if you haven't played it before, then Rainworld, the base game, is currently 55% off. stuff. What exactly is it? It's difficult to explain. You are a creature within a world that has its own living creatures and its own ecosystem, so they'll be eating each other, kind of carrying on with their business. You can climb, you can grab stones and throw them, you can pick up insects and eat them to restore your health, and then every now and then there's a huge rain downpour, and if you don't get to shelter, you'll essentially die. Now the base game has 12 large regions to explore, and that equates to, I think, about 1,600 different screens. It can be quite frustrating. You kind of have to get your head around that because it's so difficult. And when I say difficult, that's probably not the right word. It's more challenging just because of the situations it puts you in, rather than the base gameplay being difficult. Things like trying to find shelter when the rain comes. These are great games, and I'm so pleased that we finally got the update on Switch. Call of Juarez Gunslinger is currently, about £3 or $6. I absolutely love the Call of Juarez series from back in the day on PC. But Gunslinger is more action based, but it still has, the series always had I don't even know how to describe it, like a quiet call to it. This one has a narrator that's telling his life story, but it's completely bogus. But it still has those standoff moments where you've got to be quick to the draw, and it's just a fun one. Now, what I was pleased about was that they actually took the time on the Nintendo Switch version. You've got things like motion controls, HD rumble, it ran well enough. So yeah, if you're after a single player, because there is definitely a place for single player games in this world, then you're looking at around about 7 to 10 hours depending on your own pace. And I believe there is a physical of this one as well if you're a physical collector. That's 80% off until July the 28th. Yonder the Cloudcatcher Chronicles is down 42%, and also the physical is on sale for even cheaper here in the UK over at Argos. But this is one of those Marmite games. Now it presents itself as this open world RPG format, but that's not really how it plays out. It has some sim life elements in there, and I really didn't get on with this. I've got to be honest. The first time I played it, I thought, it just felt a little bit janky. But if you can push through it, and you know what type of, some players like myself can push through the jankier elements to try and find the good. And once you do get through, there's actually a lot of cool things in here. Firstly, the world is absolutely massive. It's a nice big world to explore. And then there's quite a deep crafting system. I guess it almost reminds me of a not quite as good, what's it called? Dragon Quest Builders. Still, for a smaller indie dev team, there's a lot of fun things in here. All the little sim life elements like fishing, and there are weird creatures that look familiar, so they might look like sheep, but they are definitely not. And loads of different treasures and things to find. To give you an idea of kind of where this one is ranked by most people, because we don't have a review, it holds a 74% Metacritic rating and a 69% open critic rating, so it really is in that sales territory. So maybe check out a few reviews before you go and make the purchase. Now this isn't one game, this is kind of cheating, but if you haven't noticed, Square Enix have got almost all of their games on sale at the moment. There are some brilliant ones. If you're a Final Fantasy fan and you haven't played Final Fantasy 12, I strongly recommend you do that. It's really good. Trials of Mana is a great game. You've got the Collection of Mana as well. Both of those are 50% off. In fact, Square generally just cut all their prices in half, so if there's anything you've been waiting to pick up, now's definitely a good time to do it. The Tokyo RPG Factory trilogy, the I Am Setsuna, Lost Sphere and Oninaki, they're also all on sale, but at slightly deeper discounts. Setsuna's 60% off. I loved that game. I thought it was great. That's the first in the trilogy, so maybe check that one out at 11 quid. And then you've got everything else in their repertoire, so if there's one that you've been looking forward to, then consider it. But I think the goated one really in the EU eShop has got to be Nier Automata. That also had a patch not too long ago. It was in our All Patched Up series. Not that it particularly needed it, but it went from being very, very good in terms of performance to almost great. That one's down 25% until July the 26th, so it is the lesser of the discounts, but it's also the best game. Well, not the best game, but it's my type of game. I love these third-person action adventures with these big open worlds. Let's keep things interesting and end with what I would consider a couple of hidden gems before we get onto our cheap Savaloy Selection. The first of those was a recommendation in the comments, and it's a game that I already had in my backlog, but I hadn't finished, and it's Ghost of a Tale. Now this is 55% off, it's down to £10.12, and it's developed by Seath CG. It follows a mouse who is a minstrel called Tilo, and he's trying to escape the dungeons of a large keep. Now it uses elements of stealth, and you can also disguise yourself, but obviously he's a minstrel, style, so you will actually use that music within the game to some degree. The thing for me is the world itself. It really does have a Grimm's fairy tale style look to it. This isn't a game where you'll be fighting your way out of situations, you'll be trying to think your way out. And then there are the several unusual inhabitants of this fantasy world. I love games like this. I think they go very often under the radar, but for a tenner, it is well worth picking up, and it is a bit of a hidden gem. You're looking at a 2 GB download, and that sale, as I say, goes on until July the 26th. The last one then is Tin Hearts. This is down 25%. I think it's its cheapest ever price. And if you played Lemmings back in the day, this is almost like taking Lemmings into a 3D environment and giving it that miniaturized toy box look that we've seen in a few other games. Not too dissimilar really to the Hypercharge Unbox, but obviously a very different game. Now if you didn't know, this is actually created by the same people that made Fable, and it's a puzzle adventure where you do have to guide those troops through what amounts to be over 40 different stages. When Glen reviewed this, he really enjoyed it. He liked everything about it really, but when I heard that it was made by loads of the talent from Lionhead Studios, I kind of knew that it was flying under the radar for a lot of people. So I've been keeping my eye out for when it goes on a sale, and yeah, it's finally got its deepest ever sale, and I'll pop a link to his review in the description as well. That one goes on until July the 17th. If you've made it to this section unscathed and your wallet is intact, then we now look at a few games that are cheaper than the price of your average Savaloy. Everyone was saying we should have regional equivalents of the Savaloy. What have we got in America? A corn dog? Is that an equivalent? I haven't got a clue what the equivalent would be anywhere else without potentially offending someone, so you'll have to let me know down in the comments. First up then, we've got Guyana Sisters Twisted Dreams, the Ultimate Edition. What a terrible name. But a fun little game at £1.79, a single player adventure where you can switch back and forward between the two sisters, and it reminds me of the Clockwork Knight from back in the day. If you're a shmup fan, then consider Proto Corgi, which is just £1.64, where you play as Bullet, a C-cubed class, as in cute cybernetic corgi, on his quest to save his owner. It's a side-scrolling retro bullet hell shooter, and by all accounts it's pretty darn good. Kingdom 2 Crowns is down 80%. It's like a side-scrolling strategy game where you basically have to build up a little kingdom on that plane and then protect it. You'll do that on the back of your horse going around giving orders, and they're really addictive games, these. Very fun. There's also 2-player co-op, I believe. And last but not least, Dandara, the Trials of Fear edition in the US, is down 75%. This game is, it's chef's kiss. It's so good. The subheading Trials of Fear was essentially a massive free update they added on that added a load of new story, new areas, and it's got such a cool twist on the formula of a non-linear 2D game in that you stick to the surfaces and like jump from surface to surface. Really good. Enjoy this one immensely and highly recommend it as our last Savaloy. Now, as far as games to avoid this week, I would love for you to go and watch our new series where we turned the avoid list into a new series. The first episode was called We Bought The Last Hope on Switch So You Don't, and I do a full sensible review of the game, but obviously the game isn't very sensible, so it gets absolutely torn to pieces and scores the lowest score I've ever given. I'll pop a card in the corner so you can go and watch that after if you enjoy that type of thing. But yeah, do support that new series if you enjoy it, because I would definitely like to do another one quite soon. Oh no, you won't find out that you have died. Instead you'll find out you dead. Yep, you dead. You dead a lot in this game. And that's it for this week. As I said at the start, if you've managed to avoid adding anything to your backlogs, then I definitely salute you, because I haven't. But if you want to save yourself 10% more on any of these purchases, then use code SwitchUp over at switchup.gg. You'll get 5% off instantly and 5% back in cashback. And it supports us a tiny little bit. Thanks to our Patreons and our members. And for all things Switch, all the time, keep it Switch Up. Cheers guys. See ya!